Hey Mary, can you hear me okay?
Hey, Paul. Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Did you say you'd sent Dan Schrad a
Panelist
pack?
invite. Correct. He should have an email from Zoom with a link to his panelist joining link.
Have a look. Sorry, Mary, that was to Dan Schrad at themarketingpractice.com, was it?
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was D Shrad. Let me update that. I assumed everybody had the same.
No, Dan's one of the special ones.
Okay, apologies. I
No,
should double
no,
check that, but I was trying to finish my lunch and get ready.
you're all good. It's absolutely
Dan
fine.
Shrad at themarketingpractice.com. All right.
How are we going to play sound during this? Will sound come out of the TV? Okay.
And then Paul, your video's off. I'm assuming that's just because it's the practice session and you're gonna turn
Yeah,
that on.
we're gonna test it out. Test it
Cool.
out properly in a minute, actually. Yep.
Sounds good. And then I've noticed that the chat is not enabled. Is that correct? Is that the format that we want to have?
We should allow a Q&A.
There's a Q&A allowed, yeah, but there's just not a chat. Is that the format that Amanda did earlier? Or I don't know if you were on that one.
I wasn't on it, but I assume that's
Okay.
fine. So people can put their questions in the chat, and then one of us in the room can
Correct.
spot
Yeah,
it.
they could submit it via the Q&A. There just isn't a chat for like in discussion to go on.
Yep, got you.
Okay, cool. So let me know if he hasn't received that. I just sent that out
I think he's got it. I think that's coming in now.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
Recording in progress.
Alrighty.
So Dan's in. Do you want to try turning your camera on then, Dan, and facing it to me?
It says you can't start the video because the host has stopped it.
Yeah, I think Amanda didn't turn on video, but you should be able. Let's see here. You should be able to turn on your own. It's a little different from how I do the CLA ones. So let me see what she did here. Allow panelists to start video. Okay, you should be able to do it now. Let me know if that doesn't work.
Could you mute your mic, Dan? Oh, it is muted. Okay, perfect. So,
do you want to mute your audio and I can run mine?
Run audio from there?
Yeah.
Might be a bit far, do you think? No, sorry. Yeah.
For the room, I think it's probably better. And then if I can get it to go through the TV, that would be better.
Yeah.
So can you mute your volume? I'll turn mine on.
Yep, done.
Oh, wow. It was a bit of a ricochet. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah. Okay.
Who was that?
I have no idea. It sounds like it's coming from you, Paul. I think you guys are too close to each other. Maybe. I'm not sure. I've never done one where there's live people together before. So I know that sometimes the frequencies, if they're like too close to each other, they start to
Can you hear us now?
Echoing. I can hear you fine, Dan. Yeah.
Okay. So then
you can't set your output to be the TV, the sound output.
Yeah.
Can you help that?
Yeah.
May I?
Yes, but you may have to, you're on this screen right now, your cursor, because it's set up to what? Yes.
Oh, I know I'm on that screen.
No, the cursor's on that screen.
Oh.
So if you're
it's right here. What are you talking about? Oh God, where's your settings? Why is your dock so small? How do you see this? You're in your 50s.
Good glasses.
I guess.
It's behind you now.
Do you have bifocals? Which way? Right? Yeah. This sucks. Oh God damn it.
You want to sit where I'm sitting?
Yeah, that would be way easier, thank you.
So I've got some audio in my presentation.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it to the TV. Okay.
If you're sharing it, it should go through.
You do have to check something on Zoom, I think, that says share audio. Yeah. Here, sound, select output device, Samsung. Okay, whoever's on the phone, talk, please.
Hello, hello. Testing.
Doesn't work at all. Oh, wait, let's play sound effects. That's not what I want. Wait, is it up here? Do you have sound up here?
Yeah.
Ah, here it is. Okay, try again.
Testing 1, 2, 3 from Seattle. Hello, hello.
There won't be anyone on the phone screen that's doing audio. The only audio thing is, are you in the Zoom meeting?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the sound to go to the TV speakers, which I told it to go to Samsung, but it's not working. I don't really know why.
It's not the end of the world if it comes to that. but that's
It's not,
the thing.
okay. I was just trying to make it better. All right, never mind. I tried.
So Zoom right here.
There's clients in the office though, right?
Yeah.
Your computer's pretty low.
There you go.
Perfect. So let me just skip on one.
Hi, and welcome to TMP's AI Week. This is our second session of the day, focusing on the joys of AI for ABM. There is so much new potential to explore, and I am delighted to have two technology.
So Mary,
That's
I think
cool.
you're hearing us from Dan's laptop. Can you hear me okay like this?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
So this is going to be okay for the recording, is it, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any issue there.
Cool. Could you, I think maybe just angle it straight at the speaker because if it cuts people off.
This,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
okay.
Mary, does that look okay as like a speaker position?
Yeah, I'm guessing, are you gonna have one or two folks next to you? Are they gonna stand up there as well?
Yeah, they'll come up. We'll swap round. So I'm going to go get them now.
Okay.
Yep.
You can't see the far right of the TV screen, but I don't think that matters, right? Or did you want the entire screen on there?
No, we're not. The TV screen doesn't matter because it should be.
Okay.
It's in full screen.
It'll be
for you.
shared. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
can see
no,
the-
I think that looks great. I can see the whole desk pretty much just there, so.
Perfect.
full
Mary,
speaker
one
view.
thing, if some people are late coming in as clients, we might be 2 minutes late starting the virtual session. So in which case we'll go off camera and mic from Dan's computer. And if people start coming in on the top of the hour, Mary, are you okay just to say, we're just setting up the connection to the live room and we might start in 1 minute or something?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I always suggest waiting a minute or two from going live anyway, just to let, people kind of get in and I think Amanda said the session earlier. I think Allie kind of just started straight away and people were still kind of
Perfect.
joining. So I think if you're okay, I can just say, we're going to give it a minute or so to let people join before we get started. I think that's pretty typical.
That sounds good. Are you gonna handle recording, Mary?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I will get the guys to just, I guess, don't touch anything on your
Yep.
laptop then.
I will just sit here and look pretty. That's what I do best.
Awesome. Right, let me go first.
Good to see you. Yeah.
We didn't care for this in person?
We're just getting set up, so we'll probably be another few minutes. Yeah, you can hang out wherever. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to go say hi to the? Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Perfect.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Dan.
And Roz, how you doing?
Ross, nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Yes, we met.
So, yeah, the way we'll run it
Trip
is,
hazard.
yeah, minor trip hazards.
Yeah.
Mary, can you hear us okay still?
Yep, sorry, I can hear you.
Yeah, perfect.
Just
So
fine.
the way we'll run it, so I'm sharing screen at the moment, so I'll run through my quick sort of intro
Slides.
sequence, including a little video which will hopefully work through Dan's laptop. Then after that, we will
You're sharing the sound, right?
just for
In
that.
addition to the screen.
Just for that video, yeah, I've just got one video to share sound on. And then what I'll do is I'll intro you for us and I will stop share on my laptop. Okay. And if you start sharing on yours and bring it up and present from here, then as you can see, there's sort of a video of the presenter coming through. So there's a decent illustration that it's a live event, hopefully running.
Okay, nice.
And we'll keep audio on here, so you don't have to mute and unmute.
Yeah, so that's
Is that
that's
close enough?
yeah, Mary's been checking. So yeah, I think just speaking this kind of volume and that's capturing it fine for the audience. Mary, is
And are we
that still
looking-
still loud enough? Can you still hear what's going on?
Yeah, that's loud enough. And I think, yeah, as long as the other computers are muted, there won't be any interference. And your name is appearing as Dan Schrad. Did you want me to edit that? I know there's going to be multiple speakers in your window. So what would be the best kind of appearance in terms of the name there?
I think if you call that Denver, maybe that would be fine. If you can,
Cool.
if you did that one, that's awesome.
My
Yeah, so
favorite city in the US.
when I get to the end of my section, I'll just stop share for us. If you start, come up, present, because you'll be live connected, and then Russell exactly the same. So yeah, do you both want to just quickly test that sharing your screen
Yeah.
works okay?
And I say that I will stop you, for example. And we'll go ahead and share this. Assuming that is visible. And I'll take it from you.
That's worked perfectly.
Yeah, it's showing up.
Yeah, and then Russell, if you just want to check.
Start my end.
Looks good.
Yeah, I think we should be good then.
During the Q and A section, whoever the question is directed to, are we walking up here and answering?
I think in the Q&As, let's the three of us just
Okay, is there room for all three of us listed there?
yeah, just double
looks like
check
there
on
is.
the video. So yeah, if I go around here, Russ, if you go on the left, because we won't need to see the screen.
And how do you prefer to do the Q&A, Paul? Do you prefer to have like 20 minutes at the end where you open it up for the Q&A, or are you going to be looking at them kind of regularly? How do you prefer to do it when you're speaking?
I think we'll do it at the end of the session. And
I
I'll be
think
able
that's
to see
best.
that one.
Yeah. I always think that's the best
Yeah.
way as well.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, I'll make some excuses at the front that we're trying to do it for a bit of a mixed audience.
Yeah.
Dad, do you want to turn the video off and
Sure.
audio just for the minute? And Mary will make sure that the audio and video comes on by 2 minutes past, okay?
Yeah, once we get to the top of the hour, I'll go ahead and start us live. Right now we're in a practice session, so no one can join. And then I'll just make that little announcement that we're going to give people a minute or two to join us, and then we'll kick off a couple minutes past.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to round the troops up, Dan? See who's joining us?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
We head to the front room presenting, or we're okay to speak from here, which
Oh, I'd come up because yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
on video right there.
Yep.
Yep.
sounds good. Just want to make sure we're good.
Yep.
There.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off live, and we'll let people start joining us.
Yeah.
All right, we are live.
Can we start video?
Oh, no.
Hello, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining today. We're just going to give it a minute or two to allow people to trickle in, and then we're going to get started.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. Mary, is that streaming okay?
Yeah, it looks great.
Perfect. So my thanks to those who have joined us in person in Denver, and also to those dialing in online. We've got quite a good agenda, I think, for the next 50 minutes or so to take you through. I will fill for a little bit at the start, because I can see that people are slowly trickling in on the Zoom link as well, so I don't want to cut them off too soon. My name is Paul Everett. I'm the Chief Client Officer at the Marketing Practice. I will host today's session and a Q&A at the end. Also delighted to be joined by a couple of our key technology partners in the ABM space, who will be helping to bring to life what some of the possibilities are in the world of ABM in the age of AI. Just a quick piece of positioning up front, really. This is the second session in our AI week. We've got about 6 or 7 more to come. The whole idea of this is really to figure out of all the hype we've seen in the last year and all of the demo videos that didn't turn out to quite be as accurate as was maybe promised, how do we cut through some of that hype and show people what's really possible today? And the big takeaways we're trying to get to from the course of this week is a series of sessions like this one, focusing on different topics. There was a session on creativity earlier. There's a session on media later in the week, alongside some in-person demo stations in our offices that we can also replay for people virtually when the week's concluded. And those demo stations have got some amazing tools in them. One of my favorites is one that I've struggled at quite a few times and only finally succeeded to complete last night, which is a training tool for SDRs. And you act the part of an SDR, and the AI character is someone that you're trying to get a meeting with. And I failed about 3 times before finally succeeding in getting them to take a meeting with me. But there's some really fantastic demos and other bits of technology along the way that we'll be sharing through the week. So the big idea is really see how this might add some value for you and your business. The toolkit is really about saying AI is only one element in a wider set of tools and tech and processes and people that every business already has. So we need to think hard about how this fits in alongside all your existing tools. And finally, it is a bit of a shiny new toy. So let's not get carried away and throw out everything else that we've learned over the last 20, 30 years about B2B marketing, just because there's a new piece of technology. This isn't the first time that there was new technology. 15 years ago, no one was a modern marketer unless they started using Alica and Marketo. So we don't want to necessarily jump straight into the same bandwagons. So yeah, that is the premise for our AI week. And today we're going to dive into more detail about how artificial intelligence is helping to scale ABM. So as I said, joined by a couple of key technology partners, Russell from Demandbase, Faraz from Follows, who will be showing a bit of a glimpse of the real world of their products today, but also the roadmap and where they think things are going over the coming years. But before we get started, given it is all about technology, I wanted to hand over to my newly created AI avatar to say a couple of words.
Hi, and welcome to TMP's AI Week. This is our second session of the day, focusing on the joys of AI for ABM. There is so much new potential to explore, and I am delighted to have two technology leaders with me to go on this journey. And because technology plays such a big role today, I've asked my AI avatar to share a few words. One word of warning, you can't always trust what he says. Last night, he tried to convince a waiter that I liked heavily oaked Chardonnay. So you can see how dangerous technology can be if it falls into the wrong hands. But of course, there are a lot of advantages to being an AI avatar. There are so many things I can do now that were never possible before. Como hablar el mejor español que puede producir el traductor de Google. 或者甚至尝试用普通话交流. Oder nach 10 Jahren endlich versuchen, Deutsch zu sprechen. So wie ich es allen meinen Kollegen im Münchner Büro versprochen habe. So with technology like this, is it finally possible to achieve the magic potential of true ABM at scale? Let's find out. I'll hand you back over to the real Paul now.
Thank you. And endless possibilities. And I'm certainly not giving anyone the login to be able to go and give a new script and create a new film. It's a little bit too believable, perhaps. But imagine doing that at scale across the target accounts that you're focused on or on demand with the API add into the video tool just to be able to create them as and when a new customer enters a program. So on that note, just a quick couple of framing pieces before I introduce our speakers. So there's a really interesting way of thinking about AI and where it might fit in the ABM landscape. And this is based on a Gartner viewpoint of the general application of AI in business. They talk about 3 different use cases at different levels of complexity, I suppose. So there's decision support, where things really need to be done with a heavy human hand, but there's the power of AI to scale and to add some decisioning into that. That obviously fits really neatly into the one-to-one ABM world. There's augmentation, and this is where maybe the machine might be making more suggestions and the human is just making a final decision on that. And that fits quite neatly into the one-to-few world, and I think particularly for us has got some interesting illustrations of how that's being applied in audience experiences. And then there's automation of decisions, where you're prepared to take the risk and allow the machine to have more control, and that might feel more in the one-to-many space or potentially what you might call a scale demand gen program. The other way that we think about this at TMP is how the applications might run through the framework of a typical account-based marketing program. So where it can support you in the strategy and the designing the program at the start, where it can support with target account selection, how it can help you figure out the right engagement models and see what's working, where it can support with activation or the creation of new creative experiences, and finally the measurement, the optimization, the final connection and enablement of sales. And there's certainly more we can share on this, and part of the packs going around after these sessions will include more of these use cases. Some nice illustrations, though, of maybe in the upfront phase, if you just maybe are the lone ABMer in an organization or trying to start something up, could you have a co-pilot that helps to collaborate? Could you have someone you can bounce ideas off? And certainly, I think with Microsoft Copilot, that's going to go in interesting places. This is a little example from a couple of months ago, just of using Pi, which is a really neat personal assistant AI tool, to almost give you a second perspective and someone to bounce ideas off of. For the target account selection, there's obviously tons here, some of it much more in the data space, but also quite a lot to do with tools like Perplexity, which are really great for industry analysis and looking at accounts that might have certain challenges in their strategic plans. And unlike some other tools, it gives you the actual source of where it found the information, so you're not just falling victim to a hallucination. So Perplexity is also one of the ones we've got set up in the offices as a demo station tool. It's a really neat way of getting some really good market strategy and insight. And then finally, the channel activation. Different ways of looking at this. There's some great demos we've got around copywriting and creating content at greater scale. The creative team this morning presented a really fantastic illustration from creative concepting, through copywriting, showing how I think the power at the moment of AI in this space is not to replace humans, but to bring ideas to life much, much faster and help get teams consolidated around a new approach of delivering something that then the full production values can be applied to. One little illustration of that I liked from the creative session earlier is imagining maybe BlackBerry could be one of your target accounts, or maybe you're working at BlackBerry and you just want to illustrate some different aspects of what you can bring to the brand. Well, now, if you want to say BlackBerry is rock solid, you can show BlackBerry as a rock. If you want to show BlackBerry as creative and friendly and imaginative, you can bring that to the party as well. So just imagine being able to do this, not necessarily appropriate for every ABM account where you might not want to play with the customer's logo in this way, but if it's as fast as this to bring a new idea to life, there could be some really much more impactful creative and no excuse for more cliched ABM creativity, I'd say. So yeah, that's a quick view of where it can fit across the life cycle, ending with how you might think about measurement, optimization. And again, there's a lot to be done about data-driven optimization, the ability to feed large data models into tools. One of the clients I was talking to recently at Salesforce have a fantastic attribution model that's really paying dividends for their ABM approach. And of course, Salesforce is one of those organizations where ABM has been in place for probably the best part of the decade with Einstein, but they're really starting to see how that can play for marketing attribution. No more examples, I think, of situations where marketing goes to a great length to show that it's created an opportunity, only for the sales team to close it down the next day, open it up with a new name in the system. That's exactly the type of thing that Einstein is now able to combat. So some really good positives there for how we measure and optimize. And again, part of the pack we'll share gives a bit more view of these different tools and where they might fit across the life cycle of ABM. We've included our partners here today, Follows and Demandbase, in this mix, but also some of the other niche tools, perhaps, and startups that maybe not everyone is so familiar with. But on that note, I wanted to introduce Faraz from Follows, and also to make a note that we will probably, as we're doing this a bit mixed between the virtual session and in room, we might have a couple of moments where we're changing who's screen sharing, but hopefully that will feel relatively seamless. Thanks, Faraz.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I'm going to quickly start sharing my screen. And for those of you out there, I am a real life person, just in case. As we say in Pinocchio, I would love to be a real player and organic produce. So let's quickly get this on the road. Once again, I am Faraz Hussain. I am the Senior Solutions Consultant at Follows. And just to quickly set some context as to who we are, we're essentially the first and only AI-powered no-code buyer experience platform that's designed for B2B marketers at the outset to empower you to create impact with every digital touch point. Which means everywhere you touch your buyers, we want to create that big business impact for you. But before we actually get to show you how we incorporate AI and how that enables, that the value for you in terms of business, I want to talk about how we actually got here. What's the problem that we're seeing in marketers? It's been a brutal year, brutal last year at least. We're seeing budget constraints, we're seeing overloaded stacks, and in general, if you think about ABM, the ability to scale out, to say I need to target my top, not just my top 20 accounts, but tiered accounts to 20, to 200, to 1,000 for larger enterprises, it's nearly impossible to scale. For the most part, you're looking at developer-led processes, and even if it is no code, the wait times for marketers to get their campaigns out the door is in months, if not weeks at best. So how do we solve this? At Follows, we've been thinking about these 3 points, and we kind of think about fusing AI into all of this. One is agility, which means the ability to reach out to not just your accounts in weeks or months, but rather we will run and launch campaigns in days, or even in hours in certain cases. To empower that ABM team, your field marketers that need to say, I need to get a campaign out the door for an event, for my A's request right now, and then they can get something out the door in that small time frame. And then to streamline that experience creation, essentially means is, how can I enable you to be no code at the same time, create this rich, engaging experience, not just one video with a nice little flashy banner, but to create a narrative for your buyer while being on brand and while in the governance. So when you're empowering those marketers as a brand team, as your digital team is completely satisfied as what's going out the door. The last piece, of course, as I mentioned, is usable by everybody on the go-to-market team, but that the last point in there, that speed to market advantage, that's key, right? It's technically still first come first served, my first impression. That's the first message that got delivered. That incumbent has a lot of power in an account. So that's what follows empowering you. And the one note that I did not put in an agility piece was the ability to scale out. So if you think about going after those hundreds of accounts or even thousands of accounts, do I need to create 50 microsites for each of them? Or can I use one to reach out to different vertical, different geographical regions, different industries, and so on and so forth? What does that get you though? You're agile, you're turning out things faster, you reduce costs, you can run 20 campaigns where you could run maybe perhaps 1 or 2, is with such a rich experience, what I'm going to show you in just a bit, you want to drive high engagement. So you want to use that AI piece, not just to drive agility, but to drive the engagement to say, I know who you are, XYZ from, let's say, Amazon. So it's not just Amazon with 20,000 employees, but actually Amazon's employee and so team that's on my piece, provide them their specific messaging based on we recognize it. We work closely with demand based, and I'll let Russell touch on that in just a bit. But how do we recognize them, present them their specific experience and content and that journey, not just to say, I change a text and image out, but to present relevant content on there. And then you're going to use it across the entire life cycle. So you're from the website all the way down to those 1-to-1 experiences. And the last bit that ties them together, we can call this almost like this virtuous cycle, right? So we've made something, we're getting high engagement. What do we get in terms of insight? One, we can uncover using AI who's been on those experiences. What have they been doing? They consume a video, did they watch it? They skip through a blog post because it was just too long and boring, so we can tell the content people. All of that to say, this is the buyer's journey been from the point that first touched us, and then beyond the website to say, here's the first party intent I'm giving you, marketer, to decide what your campaign's iteration should be. But next, we will take all those insights on the journey to pass it back to your entire go-to-market team. So it's not siloed anymore, but we're saying, based on what the AI is seeing, here's the next motion that the marketing team needs to do, and here's the hook that the salesperson needs to use on the call when they're meeting the buyer from there. Let me show you what, in quick aspect, what it looks like. This is just a slide to showcase everything that we can do. I'm not going to have too much on that, but what's key for you here to see is one, all the use cases we're touching, again, all done no code. You'll never see code that follows. So something on the website, product pages, to landing pages behind LinkedIn ads, running live events directly in follows with native Zoom integrations, to ABM, to field marketing, all the way down to sales deal rooms. But it comes down to that unified site picture that tells you what's been going on with your buyer. Okay, let's show you what it looks like. Quick note on what I'm going to talk about when we show this to you. One is that agility piece. So we have the ability to use AI from the get-go when you're creating experiences. We use NLP for auto tagging content when you add it in there. Bring it from a web link, upload it into follows, videos, documents. We'll decide tags for you, and we'll use those tags to present the content, not just on the who of who's on your pages, but also what they're doing. Next piece is we actually have to create the entire experience to say, I want to create a product page out and send it out for my created product, and here's my use case. We'll get you there to the point where you simply have to come in, make your small edits, and get out the door. Talking about the engagement piece, we're recommending content based upon what the buyer is doing. And of course, it's a rich, engaging on-buyer experience. And the last piece I'm going to show you is that insight piece as to what the buyer is doing as they build the experience out. Let's start with creating the experience. There's, as I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of things we can do with follows. There's everything below the banner is the follows page over here as an example, all built through follows. This is a follows page being used as a landing page, a very different use case altogether. Here's one being used for an event as an example, completely different use case altogether. And then of course we have an ABM example. But how do we get here? Let's go into follows for a second. I'm going to show you the designer because that's where the cool bit is. Let's say you wanted to create a page and we had a basic template. Again, all done no code. I'm just illustrating where the value, what we're going to send in messaging is going to go. We've got promotional title. We've got some CTAs we can put in, some value prop. Maybe I can add some content videos or PDFs and so on and so forth. But the key here is, as a marketer, I need to get something done in, let's say, 30 minutes. So I'm going to open up I want to write a board. We call them boards, but a website, microsite that I want to launch out quickly. Perhaps it's a product solution overview, Google Cloud's cloud computing services. And this is, by the way, not a prompt, but essentially you're telling us a pseudo prompt saying, here's what I want to create. But the steps it takes is a simple click, and then we let it take over. Now, what's key here is on the back end, we're looking at what we have in terms of content, in terms of the information on the product, and so on and so forth. But what it's done for you is taking you 80% to 85% of the way, where now you're just making minor adjustments. I've got the messaging as to what you're here for on this page for. Here's what the CTA should be leading into. Here's product information on what the feature sets are, and so on and so forth. So what it allows you to do is to not just be agile, but because I can take the same and then start scaling out to, let's say, here's my product description and so on and so forth, it really maximizes the number of campaigns that you can run. Right, great, we made a page, that's great. How do we go and scale this out? I can again create multiple pages out from this, but where I would say even the greater benefit comes in, the value comes in to say, all right, if I was to have somebody come on this page from, let's say, particular industry, and again, as I mentioned, we work with a lot of folks, but let's say we're working with demand-based, I could say and create a rule that says, hey, if my demand-based industry happens to be, let's pick out something that's interesting, say media and entertainment, instead of what you see over here, both from the text perspective and the image perspective, show something else. So I can go type it in, all locked into my brand colors and guidelines, and not just in terms of messaging, but the fonts, the backgrounds, and everything else can change accordingly for that particular industry. And I can compound these rules to say if it's industry is so-and-so, or my demand-based segment is so-and-so, or if my contact title is so-and-so, have that individual. I'm no longer using the word account, but that individual get a specific experience when they come onto the follows page. So we create the experience, it's easy to get this engagement. We go beyond that flat 2% that you would get on a basic page to say, I can drive 20% more engagement just by getting more and more personalized. So I could take a single page that says, hey, this is Freshworks for IT. I've got some messaging here. But what if I had, for example, Maersk on there? Well, Maersk, I see where you're coming from. Perhaps they're coming inbound, we're recognized your demand base, or they're going outbound through your map or CRM. But hey, Dominic, I see you from Maersk. Let's do, this is your value of what we do for you. Here's the different product, feature sets. Here's your specific content that I've got for you, and so on and so forth. Okay, all done, no code, all done with agility. So you're not able to scale campaigns out faster, but you're also going to get the insights. Let's talk about what we get from there. You've got a buyer on there. They're engaging there. They're watching content. They're setting CTAs. What follows? Because of that AI piece, I can go back and say, all right, let's a 40,000-foot picture. I can see everything that's been happening with my content and interactions, not just from a quick snapshot from what's been happening with all my accounts in a timeline, but be able to dig into that buyer's behavioral intelligence, say, all right, on this particular time, this is one of my accounts. Here's what's been resonating with them in terms of content, so I can write out my campaign better. I can let the content engine with the AI say, all right, based upon the tags they're interacting with, let's offer them more and more specific items from their topics of interest, cybersecurity versus databases, as an example. But to go down to the individual and say, all right, I've seen some people who are both knowns and unknowns who may be inferred, but because I can see what they've been doing, and regardless of whether they're coming inbound, outbound, known or unknown, to say, on this particular date, I've got this gentleman who came in from a LinkedIn ad, visited this follows experience, reviewed a blog post of 3 minutes, they filled the form out, and they viewed this item of 4 minutes. Right there and then is that first party data that I can then take, not just as a marketer to refine my campaign, but you go and take that AI concept and say, all right, pass it back to me AI, provide them something that's more relevant to get them more engaged and keep that cycle going as we go from there. All right, and there's a lot to dump in less than 10 minutes. I'd love to get some questions from the team. The last thing we note about AI is it's not going to solve all your problems, but it's going to get you 80% of the way. And that's how we think about it follows. We let you create 80% of the experience. We'll let you get that higher engagement. But at the end of the day, we need that marketer set of eyes to want just, of course, guide the AI what to do, but at the same time to say, all right, I see what you're doing, Mr. AI, but no, as you saw with Gemini, I don't think there's been a pope of different colors and different genders. So I'm just going to conclude with that. Paul, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Faraz. And one note, we'll be capturing some questions, and we will. We will do a quick Q&A at the end. Any questions in the room, but also anyone who's posted from online. I think there's something fascinating there for me, just about being able to think about those pseudo prompts and almost say, yeah, I need a landing page that's going to address, I don't know, there's a new CIO who's joined this particular account, and I need a landing page that I'm going to be able to showcase, the history of what we've done for them, or showcase the latest thing that we think is the best next step for them to take as a customer. And at the click of a button to get 80% of the way there is going to be absolutely fascinating. And I think that's only, if that's possible today, there's this other question about this is as basic as AI is ever going to get. Where are we going to get to next? How quickly can these pages be spun up? Because there's a separate question about when do we hit a point when it's only AI and robots that are actually reading the pages as well, because then we're creating content by robots for robots. That's probably a topic for another day. but yeah, there was a nice link there with follows adding personalization that flows in from demand base. So it's lovely to have Russell Martin from demand base to take over and run the next section.
Thank you. Thank you, Faraz, for the shout outs. We love working with your team. And thanks again to the marketing practice for inviting Demand Base to this series. So I have a number of slides today, and I'll be going through the product. In summary, in the next 15 minutes, I'll be covering what Demand Base has been doing with AI and where we believe the world of AI and ABM is going in the next couple of years. So let's first start with a quick history of what Demand Base has done to date. I won't spend too much time on the slide. But in summary, our AI capabilities started when we acquired a little company called Spiderbook just after 2016. It was a group of PhDs from Stanford, data scientists, who built this amazing product that can take a total addressable market and cut it down to a target account list based on lookalike modeling. It was very revolutionary at the time for Demand Base because we were the only company that offered such a simple tool to use. Shortly after that, in 2018, we started to get native intent data. In addition to that account selection capability that we brought thanks to the Spiderbook acquisition. There's not a lot of storytelling there. There's a lot of AI used behind the scenes with Demand Base. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. But intent data clearly is very valuable to B2B organizations because it tells marketers who's in market. It allows a sales rep or an SDR to prioritize their territory. So that was back in 2018. Shortly before 2020, we released a very incredible feature, in my opinion. I'm a little biased because I'm the advertising specific product marketer at Demand Base with our Smart Bidder. So this allows all of our advertising customers to minimize the wasted spend when it comes to display ads. This is our ability to smartly bid higher to high intent users within organizations. Whereas we might not bid at all, or we might bid $1 or $2 for individuals you're trying to reach with little to no intent within the organizations. So that's our ability to target the people that matter within companies. No other vendor offers that, and that absolutely is powered by individual predictive models in every advertising campaign that Demand Base offers. So then we acquired Engagio. Engagio was a huge pivot for Demand Base because Engagio gave us access to first-party data. So before the Engagio acquisition, Demand Base operated on our data, intent data, account identification data, etc. But once we got access to our customers' data, then that opens up a lot of possibilities, especially with predictive models, AI modeling in general, machine learning, etc. So we announced Pipeline Predict, which I'll show you a quick demo in a second. But that's our ability to tell our customers who's in market because of X, Y, and Z. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then, of course, we acquired some data-related companies because we quickly realized the importance of data. You'll get throughout this conversation, I hope. It's not actually, the AI models itself that is revolutionary. Any company right now can go on, GitHub to find an algorithm that can take a large data set and find leading indicators to result in an outcome. The main difference, and if you ask any data scientist this, is the quality of the data that informs the model. So that's why we acquired the best in breed data companies at the time that Demand Base could afford, right? We're not going to acquire ZoomInfo, but it was InsideView and ZoomInfo, which were the industry leaders at the time. Again, back in 2021. So that gave Demand Base immediate access to an incredible amount of firmographic data, contact data, among other things. And then very recently, we announced AI optimized campaign outcomes. So that's where a digital marketer can log into Demand Base, create an advertising campaign, and actually define what their goal is for the campaign. Is my goal to increase website visits? Is my goal to increase awareness or intent data? In the future, we're going to actually create an outcome to increase form fills on the eventual landing page, which is probably the ultimate goal for a lot of digital marketers out there. So that's where we're at today. This list represents all of our capabilities where AI or machine learning is utilized. There's quite a bit here. I talked about Pipeline Predict on the ABX platform. I talked about intent targeting with advertising. We have company recommendations. We have behind the scenes AI that manages our data sets, frankly. AI and machine learning is used to manage our account identification, which utilizes, and thousands of companies, frankly, which is our ability to uncover who web visitors are based on the IP address or cookie ID of the users. It's used in the intent data extraction process through the bid stream and a variety of different areas. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Let's quickly look into the platform. There's a number of things I can share, but I think that the first thing that is top of mind is showing you our predictive model. So this is just a simple dashboard which highlights a couple of accounts that are in market. We have a score that we apply to the accounts, 0 to 99. Our customers can create a predictive score for every product they offer by default. So they can create a predictive model that tells a sales rep when a company is in market for product A or product B or service C. Very helpful. That is a pretty unique aspect of demand-based, in fact. But creating these models are actually incredibly easy. And you don't have to be technical. You don't have to be a data scientist to create them. You simply point the model into your CRM. You point the models into the opportunities that you want the model to train on, both positive and negative training. So once you tell the opportunities, once you tell demand-based the opportunities that are relevant for this predictive model, demand-based will do all the work. We'll look at that window of time before the opportunity was created, and all that activity, the anonymous and known world of behaviors, we can extract patterns from those activities. Thus, tomorrow morning, we can create a predictive score for product A or product B in a very simple manner. There is, of course, the advanced method to whitelist and blacklist activity types, but I'm not going to touch on that in this particular meeting. But just know demand-based has a lot of advanced levers for those data scientists if you want to get more specific. And the application of these predictive models are vast, but the one that jumps to mind that I want to share is marketing segmentation. So as you're building a list of accounts, of course, you can reference the pipeline predict score or the qualification score or intent data or any other AI-based data point that demand-based offers in the platform. And once you have the account list, of course, you can go to the next step in that actionability layer. Let's go back to a couple of slides. So where does demand-based go from here with AI? I would say in summary, and our chief product officer would mimic this, is we want to turn our customers into strategists, not analysts. So I think marketers today spend too much time analyzing data, analyzing trends, figuring out what the next move is. Demand-based wants to solve that problem. So we envision a world where a platform is self-driving, where a demand gen marketer, a digital marketer, an ABM marketer, anyone that is responsible for the marketing and sales engine in organizations, they input what they care about, and demand-based outputs what they should do based on historical performance of their marketing campaigns, among other data inputs. So that's where we're headed. We will get more specific in a couple of slides, but I thought it'd be important to share what our principles are. So when we think about the roadmap in AI at demand-based, we want to make sure everything we plan to build is purpose-built. This might be a given, but we don't want to use AI just to use AI, just for the talking points, just for the press releases. We want to build AI products that address a specific workflow, and we'll get into specifics in a moment. We also want to be responsible with the AI. So obviously our large enterprise clients care a lot about this. We don't, for example, want to use what we learned for customer A for all of our customers. So we definitely want to keep the data within our customer's tenant, among other things that represents that theme. We want to create AI products for the enterprise. So this means that everything we want to create has to be customizable. It also has to be transparent, which is the latest talking point. Everything we do when it comes to making an account recommendation, this company's in market, we always want to show why that company's in market. So explainable AI is something you'll hear more about from demand-based in the coming months, if not years. That being said, let's look at the roadmap for 2024. A few of these items we actually already released. The biggest pivot demand-based is making is the move to buying groups. So accounts are too large, leads are too small. Buying groups are the sweet spot. And we strongly believe buying groups is where you will start to do the segmentation, and the action, of course, will appear or occur on the buying group object instead of the account object. So that's the biggest move. And there's quite a bit of AI features we're bringing in there. To give you an example, when you create a buying group in Demandbase, it will make immediate recommendations to SDRs and sales or sales reps. When someone from the buying group that might be located in Denver is on the website, right? We can infer that because we can see the geography information about the account identification piece. Someone in Denver is on the website. Someone in Denver is reading those high value pages. So we can tell the sales rep, hey, it might be this person on the buying group. They're in Denver and they are likely interested in this topic. The same thing applies to intent data. We can tell that it's someone in Denver at Google researching the best account-based marketing products. And there just happens to be a very important person in the buying group in Denver. So that contact recommendation will be made in near real time to the SDR and sales rep. That's just one aspect of, again, buying group AI. AI campaign outcomes is something we released. Prescriptive sales dashboards is another huge release this year. It's only going to get better. Pipeline AI, this is unique to this is going to be brand new in the summer of this year. This is where we can actually build a predictive model that will see the propensity for an upsell or cross-sell. So Demandbase, again, will be the first vendor to not only show the predictive nature of new logos, but also cross-sell and upsell. This also represents new enhancements to our algorithm in the first place and new data enhancements as well. Foundational Gen AI is something I'll talk about. That is, obviously top of mind to a lot of news out there, right? The ability to generate emails, for example. We have a few different thoughts. Number one, we've already actively worked on this. We've had a lot of internal hackathon projects that have built tools that will generate an email, for example, based on the anonymous and known world of behaviors within an account. But we're quite happy with that, to be honest. So we want to take a different direction because a lot of vendors are already doing that, frankly, like Outreach and SalesLoft. So that is kind of stepping on the toes of our partners, which is what we don't want to do. So our thought process with generative AI is to give SDRs and sales reps talking points. So instead of them having to research the account, what are they doing? Are they coming to the website? Is there any intent data? We want to tell the SDR and account executive what to do at 8 a.m. when they start their day. So that goes back to the prescriptive dashboards and this prescriptive nature of how we want to communicate with sales in the first place. But this item on the bottom left, again, represents immediate talking points so they can utilize in their proactive outreach. Then, of course, we always want to improve our account identification as well. 2025 is where it gets more interesting. Now, don't hold me to what you see on this slide, but this is something that Demandbase is really thinking about. Handoff Assistant is probably one of the most customer requested feature. There does seem to be a lack of conversation when it comes to why marketing sends a lead to sales, as an example. So when that handoff occurs, or when a buying group is handed off to sales in the near future, we want some automatic talking points. We want the sales rep to understand why they were handed off. That may arm them with talking points in the first place, in addition to, of course, the AI-based talking points that I talked about previously. Campaign creation AI is another step. That's on the top right. This is making real-time recommendations to that demand gen marketer on which accounts need this nurture campaign. And by the way, in this nurture campaign, you should use these talking points because of X, Y, and Z. It really takes that one-to-one strategy to scale. So instead of doing few to or one to few or one to many campaigns, AI would allow, again, one-to-one campaigns at scale. And that's where that can apply. A couple other things I'll mention. Web personalization tuning. Today, a lot of things in Demandbase is rules-based, especially our web personalization capabilities. So we want to make that automated, right? We want to automatically recommend content to a specific type of web visitor as opposed to a demand gen marketer or a digital marketer having to set up that rule in Demandbase in the first place. So that is in summary, the roadmap of what Demandbase is thinking about. Again, the takeaway is we want to make our customers strategists instead of analysts. And we do believe we're headed in that direction, frankly. So thank you for listening.
That's perfect. Thank you, Russell. And yeah, I think it's kind of fascinating, isn't it, to think how all these things could start connecting closely, because just on that last point around the campaign recommendations, and if you get to a stage where you can say, yeah, this is absolutely the right time to talk to this audience about this topic. And then if it's as easy for us, I don't know, as the product team that follows, just to make that connection as well, that you instantly spin up exactly the right landing page environment with the right content that's going to address that audience once you've found them with the same topic. I think there's going to be some really fun connections, but then there's probably a reason why I'm not in product marketing, because some of these things might be harder than they sound. We've got just about 10 minutes for any questions in the room, but also any questions from the audience online as well. So maybe for us, Russell, if you wanted to come up and join me, we can run through those. I guess probably an easy starting point from me. Like where do you feel like we are? Maybe Russell, if you want to start, where do you feel like we are in the kind of hype curve on this? You know, what's your sense of what's real, what isn't real?
Yeah, I have personal opinions on that question, but I'll try and give the demand-based opinion. There certainly is a lot of hype with AI. We like to consider AI today as like the Rosetta Stone of 1799, if my history is correct. Rosetta Stone excited a lot of scholars, right? Because they, to date, never could transcribe hieroglyphics. The reality is it took decades for the Rosetta Stone to actually have that impact. And we believe AI is the same thing. So I think a lot of things are moving too fast. I think there's a lot of expectations of AI today that are not grounded. That's why, in demand-based opinion, AI will never replace marketers, as an example. If you think about it, AI in a lot of cases will make it harder for your company to stand out, right? If every company is doing it, if your competitors are using generative AI to write incredible emails at the perfect time, if everybody is doing it, it'll be very hard for you to stand out. And you also, and Faraz alluded to this earlier, you also still need the art to accommodate the science. I think AI can tackle the science very well, but you still need that human element. There is an argument for those volume velocity businesses where AI can step in because they're smaller deals. For those, again, volume velocity products, AI might have an immediate impact. But for the medium to larger, bigger deals in B2B, that human element, I think, is always going to be needed in the foreseeable future.
Tracy, your take on it for us, similar?
Yeah, I think Russell put it fairly eloquently. At this point, you open LinkedIn feed today and you're flooded with every other person talking to Gen AI, which is frankly just one aspect of it. It follows, we kind of think of it as a pragmatic approach. Let's see what actually works, what has a consistent result. Again, as I mentioned earlier, how do we get it at 80%? Or as Russell was alluding to, it's going to help you create some great content, but then that baseline is going to go so high, then you have to go even better. That even better is where the human element is going to come in. That's what we're thinking about. It follows is we're creating experiences. How do we help you get to that baseline faster? But then it requires your human touch, that art piece, to make it better. How do we go ahead and capture that data to say, here's what I'm seeing based on the behavior. Here's what I'm offering that individual automated content on based on behavior, suggesting to them, but marketer, approve what you're seeing before I go out the door and just go completely haywire. So that's kind of our aspect of just kind of looking at it in terms of AI. And once again, there's generative AI, there's AI agents that were being deployed as well, which is probably a lost conversation in all this hype with the Soras and the ChatGPTs. But that's how we're kind of taking as a holistic picture.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the point around the 80% or however many percent for it can help you get is still spot on. I think one of the things that really struck me in the creative example session earlier today, which I'd encourage people to check out if you weren't on it. It's a great way of visualizing a concept rather than coming up with the final polished production piece. So one of our clients is in the sustainable fuels business, and we had an idea there creatively to say, what if the concept was all about taking trucks and delivery vehicles and showing that they can become lighter with these sustainable fuels. So taking a truck and turning it into an inflatable truck and having it float up into the sky. Now, I'm not a creative, but you can see how hard it is sometimes to explain a concept. And if I tried to pitch that to a client and said, yeah, we've got this idea creatively, it's going to be about trucks, but they're going to be floating. It's really hard to picture, like, what's that actually going to look like? Is it worth investing the time to make that idea into something that can really be produced? But if you've got some of the tools available and you can quickly sketch out and have a tool illustrate, this is what the finished thing could look like, then all of a sudden everyone around the table can agree, oh yeah, okay, that's a model we can get behind. And then you put the effort into creative, which needs all of the human expertise to do that in the creative space particularly. So that's what I really like about that example, I guess, is, as you say, Russell, it's not there yet. It's not at the stage where it's the finished answer, but sometimes it can help us get to a more interesting answer faster and then put more effort behind it. So I think that's really powerful. A couple of other questions I noticed, but I don't know if anyone in the room had one they wanted to go first with. That we have.
I mean, I was just comment that I agree on your perspective and what was said here today. At Thomson Reuters, we're trying to figure out how we can apply AI to work smarter, not harder. Resources are more finite. We are a global company with tons of products, and our ability to react and pivot and work in a more agile way when we do get intent data or buying triggers or signals is too dang slow. So really interested to hear about all the different use cases and applications to help alleviate some of those pain points throughout our process. I guess it wasn't much of a question, but interesting to see all the things.
I have a comment, I suppose, in response. A lot of very large organizations come to the demand base and they want our predictive, but there always seems to be a common blocker, which is data. Data is everything when it comes to predictive AI, at least. A lot of times these enterprise level organizations don't give demand-based access to data, right? Whether it's their IT team says no on getting that CRM integration, or if they say no on that marketing automation integration. All that data is needed to have a meaningful, at least pipeline predict score. There's certainly other ways to get that data into demand base, but not only that, but a lot of organizations have very bad data still. So even if they, wanted that easy way out in buying an AI solution, if the data isn't normalized, if it isn't enriched, if it's not correct, the predictive model won't solve their problem. It'll cause more problems, in fact. So the first thing, in my opinion, is that the data needs to be correct and it needs to be accessible, whichever AI vendor you ultimately go with.
One question I was going to add on that point about the speed of action that Jesse mentioned as well. For us, do you think there's some re-education that's going to need to happen with sales teams and BDRs and SDRs about how they can tap into this? Because in some of the examples you were sharing, it felt like this isn't only the preserve of marketing anymore. This is also putting some tools in the hands of a sales leader who's maybe seen something interesting coming through from demand base and said, okay, yeah, I really need a destination now for this particular account, or an SDR who needs to be coached in the best way to use these tools and follow up. Do you see some of that starting to happen? Is there some work that's needed to help SDRs adopt these tools so it doesn't just become a marketing thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, we, as I mentioned, one of the use cases we do is working with going beyond the marketing team to work with the sales team. And to your point, putting those experiences where, not just the ability to share experiences out directly. So as a great example, we have an integration with outreach as an example, where the SDR is able to go and directly pull a follower's experience based upon, of course, the stage of the buyer's journey and so on and so forth, what they're seeing, but people to go say, I'm seeing in my outreach right there, not even have to leave the platform to say, they're engaging with something, let's send them a specific piece of content that's recommended from followers, get them to engage. But it kind of goes beyond that. It's not just, of course, sending the experience out. We mentioned the analytics piece of it. As an SDR, able to say this individual went on the website, they perhaps attended a webinar, and then they came onto this page. Here's that journey they followed to get to me. But then to say, all right, before I hand it off to the AE, here's my input on what that next experience should be, and send that off to the entire stream. With sales leaders, what we're noticing is they really do want a lot more agility. We have been at a conference recently with it was really focused on sales side, and the theme I've heard there was that we're kind of done waiting on marketing, which is kind of a strong statement to make, because to your point, they want to get out in front of the buyer. They want to get them experience immediately. I need this experience out there in the next hour. I'm meeting this gentleman, I'm meeting this team. With follows, and frankly, a lot of tools are going to follow soon eventually, but with follows, they can do that without having to worry about being off brand, without having to worry about coding and so on and so forth. Quickly spin out something with a template and get it out to the door. So we are seeing that change, and we're enabling that. The great aspect is once it's all said and done, the engagement of that goes into something like demand base. So it goes back there and says, all right, here's what we know from the entire journey, to the point where they're engaging on the sales room board. So demand base goes back and does its wonderful genius work in the back end, present that analytics as to where that account is going to go. So it becomes an entire cycle with your go-to-market team all working in unison.
Russell, do you think there's retraining of marketing as well, or sales and marketing that's going to be needed with some of these use cases?
I agree. Faraz, what you mentioned, I agree with a lot with. Where I might challenge you is, as a previous sales rep, I wouldn't want to be creating experiences, right? I would want marketing to do that. But certainly for strategic sales teams, they would want to do that. Enterprise level sales teams, the sales reps that only have 10 accounts, right? But sales reps that have, hundreds of accounts, or perhaps thousands of accounts in their territory. That's where, I think AI can step in and do that one-to-one marketing activity automatically for the sales at scale. So that's a comment of mine.
We did have one question, Russell, as to how your opinion differed from the official demand base opinion.
Oh, it's very similar to the official demand base opinion. There's a few things. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share my take on it.
Yeah, I was hoping they wouldn't be too dissimilar. One thing I was just about the time, one thing I was going to leave people with is a bit of a perspective that we've been building up about how to make sure that you do this in an appropriate way, and sort of safety, and with ethics in mind as well. And I think it's something that a couple of our team, particularly some of the people who've been leading this this week, like Ali Hussein's a great example of this, would be happy to talk to anyone about in a bit more depth about how we're putting our own policies and practices in place. But I'm sure a lot of clients will be having the same discussions. It's a really important time to take some of this with a pinch of salt. As you maybe saw with my AI avatar video at the start, there's some potential for this not to be used for good. But yeah, on that note, just a thanks to everyone for joining the session, particularly thanks to Russell and Faraz for their presentations and their glimpse of the future as well, what's possible today, but also what's coming down the line. It's going to be really exciting times. So yeah, thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.